All right, I'm back for Dostios' ongoing coverage of Frag X Tab 2, and we're with DJ following their qualification to playoffs over Revel. So to start, 2-0 win, but a little bit close on that first map. How are you feeling coming out of that series?
Pretty good. I feel comfortable on the second maps. We're having a little bit of a trouble with Anubis right now, but when it comes to Nuke, we're feeling good, so feeling great.
And in these two matches you played today, I think PwnAlone especially had a very good performance against that one team, that relatively unknown squad that took you. Yeah, brain rot or brain power or brain damage. One of those guys, right? And so PwnAlone's had a especially good performance, and of course he's someone you played with for a long time back on Party Astronauts and all the associated projects. What's it like to be able to play with PwnAlone again, even if he's just filling in post retirement?
It's great. Josh is one of those players who fills roles without really needing him, and he gets all the kills that he's supposed to get. He did have a rough start to the day, chalk it up to just a bad start. But then on map 2, he ended up being like 23-1. So Josh is one of the best teammates I ever had. I was trying very hard to get him to come out of like retirement, to get him to play again. And he's courteous enough to join us for a few events. So I don't know. I wish I could keep him on long term if he was willing. I might try and rope him in a little bit longer, see how long I can keep him on.
And what is that situation? I know he's been filling in for Jam, I believe, but what's his position in the team right now? Like, how long do we expect PwnAlone to keep with Might?
So we actually just recently parted ways with Jam. We haven't really made an announcement yet. The idea, long term, I'd obviously like to get Pona exit retirement and have him come play full time again. Don't know how likely that is to be. He's willing to come with us to the next LAN as well. So depending on how we perform here, if we do a little bit better in the future, maybe I'll be able to rope him back into a full-time gig and pull him out of NA retirement.
And what prompted that decision to part ways with Jam?
Jam is a very busy individual. He works full-time, and he's got very early days, like 5 a.m., 4 a.m. days. He's doing personal training. So it was just a mismatch of scheduling. That's really all it was.
Now, so PwnAlone standing in for this team has been sort of part of an evolution of this Might squad. We've seen them go through a lot of roster changes. How do you feel about the core of this team now in its current state?
Great, actually. Historically, like you were saying, we've gone through a lot of roster changes, starting with like me, Stamina, and Nifty, and then Stamina and Nifty stepping in a lineup. We've had Scar playing. So a lot of roster changes. The current core right now feels great. It's like the EG way. It's like the boys getting back together. There's a lot of natural chem. There's a lot of understanding of how we want to play the game. Obviously, we were never perfect as a team in the past, so there's still those minor hurdles that we have to get over. But in general, I feel really confident in what we're able to do on the minimal amount of practice that we've got.
Do you think there's a risk of treading old ground, or do you think this core can still innovate despite having been together for such a long time?
If we're able to put in the hours, we can absolutely innovate on what we've done. We've clearly hit a little bit of a block on some maps, and I put that down to the amount of hours that we're able to put in. PwnAlone's down to go full time, and in terms of practice, if we continue to see success, and John G is working a full-time job, so it's more about whatever resources we have, we're going to put in, and if we can do something with it, then we're going to just perform our best.
You mentioned, you had Nifty. I believe that was the final team he played for before he retired. As someone who played with him for a while, he's actually going to be going to go coach Team USA at IESF. How do you think he'll fit into that role as a sort of temporary coach?
Nifty is going to do a great job at being a temporary coach. As far as I understand, he's not actually going there to be a tactical coach. He's going there as more of a team mentality coach. He's a very cerebral player. He understands a lot about human psychology and what it takes to get to that next level. Having been successful at such a young age, he got to experience it, and he has a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge to share with those guys. I think every single one of them is going to probably do a great job with what they have, what he has to offer. I think it's a great role for him. I love Noah. He's a great guy. He taught me a lot.
On this roster, the only player who I think isn't part of the older generation of CSGO players is Louis. What can you tell me about him as the sort of young gun on the team?
Louis is incredibly hungry. He wants to win, and it's kind of funny that you have the youngest person on the team with the least experience, and he's actually the guy who is pushing people to do more and put in more hours. And he's a hard worker. He does so much. He's streaming every day. He does YouTube content. He's practicing on 2 different teams with Team USA and us. So I don't know. The kid's a hustler. I have high hopes for him.
Looking back towards the ESE Advanced season, might finish in 4th place, I believe, falling to Undefined. What do you think? 4th place isn't a bad finish, don't get me wrong, but what do you think went wrong against Stamina's boys that you weren't able to take the day? Because I assume the goal is for you guys to return to ECL at some point.
Yeah, the goal was obviously to win Advanced. Against Stamina's team, they had a very good game plan that we failed to adapt, especially on Mirage. They were doing a lot of slow rounds that we didn't do a good job of contesting. Props to them. They obviously came up with a clear game plan, and they made it work really well. I would combo that with we weren't putting in the necessary amount of hours to win the division. And Advanced used to be one of those divisions where if you had a few players, you could walk over the league. And now I think you're seeing the NA scene sort of a little bit of a resurgence, seeing a lot more competitive teams in ECL, and I think the advanced teams are catching on, and they're learning and they're advancing. So for us, 4th place wasn't what we wanted. Like I said, lack of practice, and Stamina's team, they came prepared. It was really all it was.
Two of the other big stories from this advanced season was obviously Akimbo winning the division and the run In Control had. Two younger teams that are part of sort of this new CS2 generation. What do you think about those two squads?
I think Akimbo is one of those teams that they're just slept on. You know, if I'm correct, that's a Mongolian Squad, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think they've been consistently performing for the last few seasons. They've been doing a decent job, and they've done pretty well at a few lands. So I think props to them. They should continue with doing what they're doing. In Control, I don't really know too much about them, but any of these advanced teams that are seeing growth and beating teams that they are like upsetting or players who are historically known, like they should just need to continue on the grind, because that's how a team like PA managed to almost qualify for a major, make it to Pro League, by just kind of just silencing the doubters. Just keep grinding in silence, just keep hustling.
With the team having locked in playoffs, what's your expectation now for this event as you head into Saturday?
The goal is to win. That's it. We know that in order to win the event, we got to beat every single team here, so we're just going to do what we can.
Who do you see as the biggest threat here in your road to championship?
I mean, there's a few good teams, I'd say. Like Kojimo's team is one of them. And then also you obviously have Elevate or like ex-Elevate Timberman, but they're missing like a massive piece of their team. So probably those two teams. I haven't really looked at like every single roster, but those are the standout ones.
For you personally, so you recently turned 30. You're 31 years old now. You've given many years to the NA scene. As you're approaching what many would consider to be the twilight of a player's career, what's your mentality towards the game? Do you feel still your hunger as a player, like you have more here to accomplish? And what makes you like excited to keep playing CS2?
Yeah, I absolutely. Regardless of my age, I love the game. Even if I wasn't competing in CS, I would still be playing CS. And nothing really hits like a game, like a serious competitive game of CS. Nothing really gets the adrenaline pumping like that. I'm motivated to keep playing the game. I see 2025 as an option. Like NA to me looks not free, but there's room for another team to come in and take space. And I know with the group of guys that I got right now that there's an opportunity for us to step into like a top 5 NA team position.
All right, so that is DJ, the IGL of Might, making it to day 2 of the Frag X Tap 2 LAN. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll let you enjoy your win.